Newly Sober in the Time of the Coronavirus by Sari Caine. God, Goddess, whatever works for you, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The Serenity Prayer. Stay. 1. To stop going forward, pause. 2. To stop doing something, cease. 3. To continue in a place or condition, remain stayed. When everything is fight or flight, stay is in between, the opposite of trying to escape. March 19th, 2020, Kentucky. The train whistle blows early Thursday morning. That's all it takes for you to want to sneak out of bed, put your running sneakers on, and run down to the tracks. Your hand picks up your phone because seeking help has become automatic, and phones are all you pick up now. You know someone will answer because helping you helps them, helps us. Your sponsor, busy with her own life in Brooklyn, hears your inability to speak and calmly says, "We'll start the same way we worked together at the beginning." Starting from the beginning feels like defeat, and you can barely remember that far back. It's not 1 day at a time, she says. It's 1 hour. From 9 to 10, you will eat food. From 10 to 11, you will get caffeine. From 11 to 12, you'll take a shower. And we'll check in at the end of every hour. Remember your one-word mantra, stay. Keep passing the open windows, John Irving wrote. Right now, none of them are open. You are scared of rain. Tuesday, November 12th, 2019 is your sobriety date. It is when you stopped, or rather your life stopped for you and you could not go on. At first you assumed you had gotten this information wrong. You could, of course, go on. Samuel Beckett's quote, "You can't go on, you must go on," was one of your favorite clever things to say. But the months, weeks, days, hours, minutes went on, and you did not. You did not go anywhere beyond the one unending thought, which was that your head was trying to vomit out your brain, and you did not feel so clever now. The morning you finally gave in, gave up, and stopped trying to get out, you found notes scattered across your apartment. Some were crumpled, some were large, and some were small. They were all in your distinctly scrawled, illegible handwriting. And finally, the last one, the one that made you admit defeat, found underneath your pillow. The tsunami is here. 4 p.m. Thursday, March 19th. You wait anxiously on the veranda swing of your boyfriend's porch in Louisville, Kentucky for a woman you've never met to bring you a book. The book is called The Big Book, and the woman is called Alex, except that is not her name. You have no doubt Alex will come because Ken told you so. You have never met Ken either. That is also not his name. Welcome to sobriety. For the last 4.5 months, you have depended on the kindness of strangers. At their suggestions, you have called 2 a day, every day, and your sponsor. You have sat in multiple meeting rooms daily, shared walks, shared coffee. You have taken phone numbers, house sat, pet sat, and opened your heart and home to strangers who open their hearts and homes to you. And the only thing you know, more than you know your own actual name, is that they will not let you down. This is how you begin to learn optimism, defined by Merriam-Webster on Google as a doctrine that this world is the best of all possible places. This sounds like the Serenity Prayer they say at the end of your meetings. It sounds like what you are starting to understand about reality. Most of all, it sounds like Leibniz. In fact, it is. This is the best of all possible worlds was his Enlightenment-era phrase, what is now called Leibnizian optimism. Historically, you've sided with Voltaire. Candide, stunned, stupefied, despairing, bleeding, trembling, said to himself, "If this is the best of all possible worlds, what are the others like?" You left your own big book in the back of your Uber on the way to LaGuardia Airport. And you want to believe this is the best of all possible worlds, too. In the midst of a global pandemic, you never know who might need to find a big book in their car. It seems you agree with Leibniz now. On November 12th, 2019, when you stopped, the largest fear you had was that the world had kept on going. It is currently Thursday, March 19th, 2020, and part of you is the smallest bit pleased to report the world has stopped. It has hit its bottom too. Admitting your powerlessness is step one. It turns out we are all powerless over something, whether it is our addictions, behaviors, or the coronavirus. You are an addict in a 12-step program. Anonymity prevents you from saying which one. Before recovery, you had many lives, simultaneously sometimes. Jung said, "I would rather be whole than good." After months of recovery and outside therapy, whole is starting to feel good. Not so long ago, you would have been delighted to lock yourself up inside your apartment and go AWOL, writing the next great American novel. Social isolation mixed with chaos was irresistible. Society insisting you may not leave your house was a fantasy you've had for a long time. Neither you nor the great American novel would have made it through the quarantine intact. There is a group of people currently scattered anonymously through the world, uniquely suited to handling today. We are individuals of 12-step programs. The very qualities that make addicts and alcoholics so good at finding any substance anywhere at any time make us some of the most resourceful, resilient people you'll ever meet. As obsessively and intelligently as we once sought chaos and destruction, we now concentrate on creating discipline and peace. Where you once sought escape, you now focus on being present. Where you once sought a fix or to be fixed, you now question your understanding of broken. Quarantine makes your world smaller, more manageable, bite-sized chunks. And when the questions come, you are prepared to respond with calmness in the face of uncertainty. How long will you be in Kentucky? How is it going with your boyfriend? Aren't you getting too old to have kids? What's happened to your apartment, your cat, family, job? But practice takes practice. And sometimes we all just want things to be better now. When a global pandemic comes, they can't be. There is a saying in the rooms, don't just do something, sit there. And as everyone, including the whole world, wants this, the virus, the economy, to be fixed, you think about how hard it is to just stay still. Stay. You do. And slowly, as everything external gets stripped away, what you value comes into place. Addicts also want right now to be fixed. That is why we use. But sometimes right now can't be. This time, the right now is shared by the entire world. This is step one every day for each of us, admitting you have no control. You are right back in November 2019. Stay. And suddenly, after 4.5 months of practicing love, strength, and hope daily in person, you don't feel so behind. You don't feel ahead either. You feel exactly where you should be, and equipped to meet the world, the best possible world there can be, as it is. Twelve-step programs are communal programs, and so is the internet. By the time the virtual world took hold for the rest of the world, yours had already formed. No one was left behind. Even 80-year-old Zoom, waving at you during meetings with one-dimensional hands. Stay, they say, if only to find out what happens next. It gets better. In Zoom meetings, trappings of anonymity are still present, but small boxes of home behind your strangers' heads brings a strangely intimate feel. Men who had always looked so tough are suddenly revealed cradling cats. You are grateful for the technology that keeps you connected to your Brooklyn strangers, most of whom have scattered, like you, across the country. Some people from your meetings disappear. Some reappear. Some don't. They die. Most stay. Newcomers appear. Individuals who have never been to any room in person, never met any of you at all. Zoom 12-step meetings are the only recovery they know. One had 3 months yesterday. Your faces are my rooms, she said, and you smiled because her face is your room too, and right now it is glowing. Stay, they say at the end of meetings. Stay, they say when you are getting off the phone. Stay, you think, looking at your running shoes by the door. You watch the strangers in your 12-step meetings, facing the pandemic with humor and resilience and courage that you don't see elsewhere. You memorize the serenity prayer and look up the word courage with your sponsor and discover that it must be learned. Only bravery is innate. You realize distance, even virtually, counts. You need to find strangers in Kentucky too, even if you never get to meet them in real life, even if it feels like you would rather step on a rusty nail. You do it. Ken is your first Kentucky stranger. He picked up the phone when you called Louisville's 12-step office. Alex will be here soon, he says. Her face will be your room. Sitting on your boyfriend's porch swing in full-blown panic mode, you're trying very hard not to leave because, after all, it is March 19, 2020, and other than Kentucky, where would you go? You don't run from things anymore. There is no actual getting away. As you sit with your discomfort, you don't feel so serene. If this is what Leibniz meant by best possible world, you would like another now. But instead, you call the even newer than you newcomer to offer help. What's the point, she says. The point is change. The gift is willingness, you could say. But instead, you just listen. She tells you she is originally from an Orthodox Jewish community and has trouble with the higher power thing because she left her own God behind. You never had one. Is there anything you kept, you ask? She is silent. Then, there's something called Hishtadlus. It means your place, what personal action you must take in the world. Bidikon is your trust in and acceptance of the universe. The night I reached out for help, that was my Hishtadlus. I must have had some trust in the universe if I did that. You smile because you realize you understand step 2 now. A belief that something outside yourself will restore you to sanity, faith. In this case, her. Stay, you say. It is 4:30 when Alex arrives, as you knew she would. Step 3, a belief in a power greater than yourself. Alex is a sassy woman in her 50s with 28 years of sobriety and a voice impossible to miss even from 10 feet away or your neighbor's house. She's also the last person, besides your boyfriend, you will see in real life for the next 3 months. Are you doing the dishes, she says? What step are you on? You're used to these personal conversations with strangers now. Are you sleeping, showering, eating, drinking water, remembering to pause? Step 3, and yes, I'm doing the dishes. Every morning I get up, do steps 1, 2, and 3, she says. I have to resist, give up, surrender, and start again new every goddamn day. But all that step 3 asks of you is a willingness to try. Now, honey, I was never the suicidal type. I was the homicidal one. But as long as you're desperate in either direction, the willingness is there. She squints at you. You look pretty damn willing. You force yourself to meet her eyes. That this is hard for you, an instructor of special needs children with a neurodivergent partner who constantly notes others' lack of eye contact and never, until now, your own, has been yet another unpleasant new discovery of sobriety. Alex puts the book down. Stay. That night, you are desperate or willing enough to try your first Louisville 12-step meeting via Zoom. You decide to leave. No one will know. Then you hear a familiar voice. Ken. She's new. Came here from New York City. Stay, the strangers say. Women's phone numbers fill the chat. Men tend to work with men and women with other women, and you hated this at first, but now you have another thing to be grateful for. Your world is suddenly full of compassionate, wise, and capable women who tough love you while you learn to love yourself. You will write the numbers down before the meeting ends and call 2 every day. It will be awkward and slow going at first, but you'll find an online women's meeting that will once again save your life, and you theirs. Helping you helps me, helps us. When it's time to read from the big book, courtesy of Ken and Alex, you can read along too. You wonder who has yours. We are people who normally would not mix, but there exists among us a fellowship. We are like the passengers of a great liner the moment after rescue from a shipwreck, when camaraderie, joyousness, and democracy pervade the vessel from steerage to captain's table. Big Book, Alcoholics Anonymous. In front of the book are their phone numbers, Alex's and Ken's, and underneath another word, stay. So, Earth, take what you like and leave the rest. Thank you all for joining me in my new sobriety. I'm grateful to find us all working simultaneously on step 3. Get ready for step 4, taking inventory. I'll see you on the virtual side. Stay.